Hi guys, it's Em here, and I am here with Mark Belden. Hello, Mark.
Hi, how you doing?
Oh, I'm very well, thanks. And how are you?
Yeah, been a long day, raining. Winter's coming in, but yeah, all good otherwise.
Well, we both live in sunny Britain. We get the lovely English weather, so it has been raining on my end too. Um, anyway, let's dive straight into it. So, Mark, for our viewers, because I just want to get it straight from your mouth rather than trying to sum it up beforehand. How did you? First of all, how did you find out about Greg Hallett? How did you come across Greg Hallett? And secondly, what was your connection to Greg Hallett?
Okay, right. Well, originally it started off. I obviously got onto social media. I never really into Facebook and things like that. But it was due to the COVID lockdown. I needed to get hold of Virgin Media to cancel my Sky Sports and everything like that because obviously it was all cancelled. And I
Yeah.
always got fed up of waiting 30 minutes on the phone. So I thought I'll get them on Twitter. So I
Okay.
made a Twitter account, started looking at this where we go, one we go, all stuff started cropping up and got into it. I mean, I've always been a conspiracy theorist since 9/11,
Yeah.
but this really got my appetite wet. I'd heard of Q and stuff, but anyway, that's the background on that.
Hmm.
Um, Made a few friends. There's a woman on Twitter, basically, who I contacted with DMs. We were talking about stuff. And she showed me this stuff about this. Apparently, we have a new king, Greg Hallett. And I was like, okay, I'm all it is, bit of curiosity, like.
Mm.
So she had all the information sent and was apparently contacted by somebody to say, look, you can't put it out yet because we're not ready. But I
Okay.
had the info sent to me. This was probably, I joined on Twitter, probably, it was May. So it's probably near the end of May before June that I actually heard of Greg.
That's about the same time as I did, actually.
So that was when that's because it was basically me and her were one of the main people that started exposing the knowledge. I
Yeah.
hadn't done the background or seen video clips, but I'd seen the stuff that she presented. And I was curious because obviously we know about our royalty, etc., the lines that they come from, things, and the falseness, etc., etc. So yeah, I got into it, and then obviously he appeared on Twitter originally under Alicia, I think his first account was.
Oh,
Um,
I'm sure. Yeah.
he ended up friending me, and we got chatting and things, and then all of a sudden he disappeared one day, and then said no, he's changed it to at King John UK. He's now King, whatever that was.
Right.
So yeah, that was basically how I found out about it, and we actually had a few DM exchanges from his account to me, whether or not it was someone running it on a couple of them. Where it's like people have people running their accounts because they're too busy.
Well,
But yeah,
absolutely. All of Greg Hallett's social accounts, he said himself, have had or do have people helping him with them or full on running it. And I
yeah,
have spoken to a few people. I am in contact with a few people who have been a part of running social accounts for him in the past, which is interesting.
yeah,
So,
I'm with one as well. Actually, yeah, that's how one of them got me set up because after sort of getting in contact and stuff, that was at the time when the King's Courtier Twitter account was going around at the same time.
mhm.
So they contacted me and said, "How would you like to represent Greg? We're starting up." It was before the King's Patriots. Originally, it was the King's Circle accounts
Okay,
with
yeah,
the
yeah.
original ones. So me and a group of other people got set up. We got sent the official profile pictures and everything like that. And within a few days of doing it, we realised that we'd been basically, no, we're stopping that now. We're not going to be this King's Patriots. You're no longer part of the official team, as it were. So a lot of the King's Circle accounts got shut down, or they just left. But I thought, I'll progress, just see where it goes, because I'm curious about these things. It's a big story having a new king. It's not something small. So obviously my ears were still perked up, wanting to know more. So obviously I kept my King's Circle account going. And then obviously started getting a little bit more on the Q stuff, and then Twitter suspended me, and as they do,
Yeah.
and I never got it back because it was a second suspension. I had two accounts, both were joint on the same phone number, so when one went, the other one went,
Oh, okay.
basically. So I lost both accounts, and on both accounts I had nearly 3,500 followers on both accounts joined
Yeah.
together.
You see,
So
I'm brand new on Twitter. I've only been on there about a week and a half, so I'm still getting used to it myself. So yeah,
yeah,
but apparently someone had sort of reviewed my account when I first started and tried to give me a few tips, and she said, "Oh my God, how long have you been on here?" And I said, I've been on here, 12 hours a day. He said, "Oh
Yeah.
my God, you're shadow banned already." I was like, "What?"
Yeah,
I
it's
didn't know what that
amazing.
meant.
I mean,
But
yeah,
apparently, in some
it's
ways, that they'd restricted how people could find me and who could see my stuff.
yeah. It's probably done checks with your YouTube account because let's face it, it's all in a big database. So they put
Yeah.
two and two together and thought he's a threat. We're going to shadow ban him. I mean, I had it. If you put my Twitter @ name in, it came up person not found. The only way I could get people was if I put theirs in, followed them, then they got the notification to follow me back. But if
Yeah.
you put my name in the search, I didn't come up.
Interesting. Yeah. So anyway, so you were an at King Circle. What number were you?
I was, might as well, people know anyway. I was King Circle 70. I was one of the long-standing serving members.
Okay.
And
Obviously,
like I say,
I wasn't on Twitter, so I never came across your account. But,
no, I would have gone by the time you got on. I've been off there now for over a month, I reckon it's been now. But yeah, I mean, I had a bit of a following. I was one of the ones as well. Got some of the memes that got sent through. The one with the Queen stood outside with a removal van with the little bag, and obviously there's the troll going better out than in. You know, I was the ones that got given them from the King's Courtier, and I let them out. And the Buckingham Palace one, obviously the King's flags and things. So I was given those originally to let out. But I did get quite annoyed that I'd got dropped, and I thought it was a bit weird because Greg, his account did chat to me, then it all just went quiet. Probably around early June, actually, funnily enough, talking about what's going to be on as well later. And a lot of people were annoyed about that, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure they were, especially if you were like sort of a loyal and popular account that was sort of sending out a lot of information. It's kind of strange, isn't it, when you feel like you're doing playing a big part, and suddenly you're
dropped.
Yeah, you're dropped. The ties are, but the thing is with Greg, and I'll go into more about this later. You know, as I've told you before the chat, before this video, you know, I've done sort of extensive research talking to people from his past, and actually it seems strange, but it's actually a common theme. You know, so you know, his family cut ties with. I'm not going to go too much into that. But then, you know, his friend, Rick Marshall, who I've done an interview with, and there'll be more interviews coming out. You know, he was his post-high school friend, who knew him from high school, knew him for years, went to his wedding, everything. And, you know, suddenly cut ties with him. No more talking. Went to England, you know, met Tom Cahill, lived with him for 4 months. So I've interviewed Tom Cahill. So, guys, if you haven't seen those interviews, I'll leave them in the description below. And check them out on my channel. But yeah, the guy lived with Greg for 4 months and was friends with him for a couple of years. Again, just suddenly, very suddenly, and actually it was around the time he was finishing writing the Hidden King books, just severed ties and talked no more to him. And then, you know, went to go and see Francisco Manuel in Portugal. You know, they finished the books. Suddenly Francisco disappears, he cuts ties. Comes back, starts gaining popularity, starts talking to Natalie, who we'll speak to, and a lady called Raven Moonstone. From what I understand, suddenly cut ties, stopped talking to them. You know, so this is what I'm trying to get at. Actually,
a lot of stuff has happened, which is just aroused suspicion, basically.
Yeah, and obviously there's more we want to go into, which I, you know, the reason why we're talking is there's some things that I want to explore and investigate with you guys. But I just wanted to put that point across that actually there is kind of maybe not a logical explanation, but there is like a theme here of Greg seeming to drop people, usually when they become no more use to him. So like Tom Cahill, him living with Tom Cahill, and the same with Mark, a guy called Mark Windows, who does a YouTube channel called Windows on the World. He lived with him for a while as well. And as soon as as soon as they are a threat to him or no longer become useful in terms of I need a place to stay or whatever, or now some other guys, you know, some other producers and you know, like people with money, you know, these Jack Kids and Charlie Wars, they've got hold of me now, so I don't need you anymore, Tom Cahill.
They're funny
yeah. So anyway, we'll get into those guys. So I just wanted to put that point across. So you suddenly lost suddenly kind of put out the loop. Is that right?
Yeah, basically that's what happened. I mean, near the end of the account, obviously, all of a sudden this Kingsman appeared,
right.
which I thought, what's all that about? That
So
was at the time
this
I still had my King's Circle, which was our friend Gareth Barrett.
Gareth Barrett, yeah, I did a video on.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the previous one, which so obviously I was like Kingsman, King. I was like, was there a connection? So obviously I found the Twitter page, liked it, followed. He followed back, and then it just started off. He was posting things. I was following, replied, usual sort of banter on Twitter, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I say, started DMing, and obviously then got asked a question about, do you want to be a Kingsman? And obviously, yeah, I sort of got pulled into it a little bit, but I'm one of these that I like to see where things go. I've got my head screwed on. I'm not a complete idiot. I've got common sense in abundance, which is why I like to listen to arguments and come to my own conclusion. It may not be the same as everybody else's, but I won't just take one side. I have to digest and think for myself.
Yeah, weigh up both sides of what you.
The pros and the cons, and who sounds the most logical, and the real fanatical people you've got to mind, because it's more of a cult. They're trying to push something on you rather than give you facts and let you choose yourself.
Absolutely.
So again, I got in with this Kingsman thing. A lot of stuff started happening. I mean, Gareth, I'm sure he means well, but things weren't adding up. Stories, things he was saying, people he said he had allegedly been in contact with. I mean, we're talking like world leaders here.
Yeah.
Now,
I looked through some of those messages.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he said something like, "I've been in contact with the world leaders, Russia." Where else did he say? America,
Russia, America, and obviously I've forgotten what the other one was. But yeah, he reckoned he had ties, and
they've accepted his his lineage, his blood right to.
Yeah, I mean, I've never really looked at his. I've never really looked at his to sort of find out for myself how legit it is. I mean, obviously,
he's descendant of King Charlemagne.
That's the one. Yeah, I remember that bit. But I mean, he never spoke to me about that I mean, I've actually been to his flat. I've met the guy in person.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I've actually shook his hand. So going back to when that picture, when there was a debate that wasn't him, stood next to Greg shaking his hand.
9th of July,
Yeah, that guy in the photo was the guy that I met in the flat, without a shadow of a doubt. It weren't anyone else, because there was, I think in the messaging, Mahoney was going, "Oh, well, spoke to Greg, and Greg says it looks like him, but it's not, and he has no authority from Greg to do anything." But the thing was, originally, when I met with Gareth, the way he was speaking about Greg was, I thought they went back a long way and were best friends.
Yeah.
But it turns out that he wasn't, because obviously of stuff that you've covered in the video previously about Gareth. I obviously was at his flat, and he was talking something about Greg and that, and talking, and his missus was sat across and said, "Oh yeah, you've only spoken to Greg a couple of times, haven't you?" And he was like, "Oh no, I speak to him all the time." And that was then when the penny really dropped, that his fish is slightly bigger than mine all the time. That type of person.
Yeah.
And general stories.
I was going to say, he seems like the type of guy that likes to embellish on his maybe partial truths, maybe lies, or maybe just like
exactly. I mean,
try and make it a bigger deal than it is. So Greg may have spoken to him a couple of times. I have to question whether that day, it does look very much like it was Gareth that day on the 9th of July. I have to wonder whether Gareth had said, "You know what, I'll do it for free. Can I be your security when you go to the cafe to sign those documents?"
Yeah,
sure, all right. If you've got to do it for free, and then he's turned up and he's.
The thing is, it makes it even weirder though, is the fact that, I mean, obviously I'm not going to give out his exact location, but Greg's sort of like on the east side of the country, and Gareth's sort of like over on the west side of the country. There's a fair few hundred miles between locations. So if you're going to be a personal bodyguard to someone like that, you need to be quite near or living with them for 24-hour protection.
Absolutely.
Especially close protection officer, as he was saying that he was.
Yeah.
But I mean, I mean, the time he consumed off me was incredible. I mean, you know, if I didn't get back to a message in a certain time, he thought I'd done something to him, and I would just get my inbox would be full of messages. Oh,
Really?
you're all right. What's happening? What's going on? And I'm like, look, I've tried to, you know, a couple of times. I've got a full-time job. I work in construction.
Yeah. Got normal
You know,
life.
it's quite.
Mm.
I've got bills to pay, a mortgage, and I've got a wife, and you know, I've got a family. You know, I've got a family. I call the cat a family if you want to, but
Mm.
you know, I've got a life, and as much
Yeah.
as what's going on at the moment consumes it, and I do like my conspiracy theories and reading up on
Mm.
stuff,
Mm.
I have to balance my life out. Otherwise, you just get consumed by it.
Yeah, you have to put what's
Literally.
important first at the end of the day. And
Yeah.
Gareth messaging down the phone is not as important as paying attention to your family,
No.
spending that time with your family, or what you know, and
Exactly.
making your
And
job,
you
your
know,
life, your bills, and all the things that comes with living in the real
exactly.
world. So yeah, I totally get you with that.
Yeah. I mean, it used to be some evenings, you know, I'd get oh, can I speak to you later? And I'd be like, yeah, okay, but keep it brief. And it would be like 8 o'clock, we'd get on the Facebook video call. And then by the time we finished chatting, it'd be like midnight. And it's like, well, I've got to get up at 5. And this went on for weeks.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
was, you know, it gets to you. And obviously I was like, well, I'm going to ignore him today
Mm.
because I've got to work. You know, I've got the boss coming down. If he sees me on my phone again, he's already warned me a couple of times because it's like, look, every time I see you, got your phone in your hand. It's not my fault I'm popular on Twitter and Facebook. You know, it's part of what comes with it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, I sort of try and have to work and earn money. It's, you know, the construction industry is on its knees at the moment anyway with this
Yeah,
COVID nonsense, and I just can't have the pick of the jobs like I used to. So even as much as I hate it, I have to still be careful because, like I say, there's still bills.
absolutely.
So yeah, he got very much like a child of a new friend who wasn't getting back to him, and it was just getting a little bit too much for me, to be honest.
Overbearing.
Yeah, overbearing certainly, but I mean, I'd only ever met him on video calls before that from the head up, and
Mm.
you know, he seemed okay. But when I actually went to go and meet him, I then looked and thought, you know what, this isn't really going to go anywhere. I can't
Mm.
see all the stuff that he spoke about really happening. It was like a huge fantasy land that he was living in.
Yeah, and that's that. You know, that's what it seems like to me is he's kind of, you know, enjoying this. Well, I could call it a story. You know, or
Yeah, it's a
Greg,
good way
the
to put it.
information
Yeah,
that Greg has put out, right?
yeah,
And he's gone, right. You know, I want to be a part of this. This really fits into my fantasy world. And he's gone, right. You
yeah.
know, I would love to be, you know, Agent 47. Isn't that what you guys were talking about?
Yeah,
You know, Hitman.
yeah. Every night. Yeah.
Yeah, so I play like a brilliant game. Agent 47 is like this bald secret agent. Anyway,
Suit, black, red tie. Yeah, that's the one.
yeah. So yeah, and as you guys said, he thinks he's the real 47, but in his mind, he's probably really. So this is what me and Greg's family had questioned about Greg, whether in his mind, you know, if it's you know, this is a deception, which I think it is, whether in Greg's mind, because he's got evidence of this in the past, where he actually kind of believes a lot of what he's saying,
Yeah,
you know, and these people around him are feeding into these delusions, you know, if, you know, and yeah, really kind of using him because
well,
he's so much charisma. He's very seems very knowledgeable. He's very he can definitely get people's ears and have people listening to him. So whether he's being used, so again with this Gareth guy, I have to wonder whether he's got this, what we're saying that maybe Greg has, and he's got these delusions,
yeah,
and Greg has now allowed that as a vehicle. Yeah, of course you can be like security, and he's like, right, seriously, now I'm the
yeah,
intelligence agency and secret service, and you must listen to me.
yeah.
Just throwing that out there, that there might actually be some serious mental health issues, or you know,
Split
some
personality, any type of thing like
split
that. You
personality
know.
is definitely a possibility with that. So you know, I think we need to be. I know I'll put that video out about Gareth, but you know, it's really highlighting what he's doing, and maybe fooling people, maybe, you know, deceiving people, and that's not good.
Yeah.
And so that's what's important about that video. But you know, I really hope that if it is a mental health thing, that he gets the help he needs, and maybe
Yeah.
exposing
I mean,
might.
stories he's told me, he actually, I mean, he's done military. I have seen photos and things of him in, not the funny one of his face chopped on, that one that you showed on the video, which was blatant, but that was bad Photoshop, that was. So that's what I'm just thinking about it now. But you know, I've heard some of the stories. I mean, again, I can't really check on it. I don't have the people to check it, but you know, he served in Afghan, Iraq, and all that sort of stuff. He's done the tours. I'm just thinking maybe something overcame him, and he came back a different person than when he went into the military, and sort of only really done this because, you know, I mean, it's like, you know, if you get these people that if you meet your idol or do something once, you then think you're bestest friends and I can ring you whenever I want and we're doing this together. But in reality, you're not actually doing that at all. It was just a thing that you did. You know, and like I was saying, you know, just things just weren't adding up. Some of the stories were absolutely wild as anything. I mean, they were so tall. If you stood on top of them, or you'd run out of oxygen. You'd be that height on the height of the stories. How tall they were.
So with Gareth, so is this how? So you are invited by Gareth, and Gareth only, to be kind of Kingsman.
Yeah, I mean, he was saying about, oh, you know, I put an ad out. I've got loads of people coming in, and I obviously, you know, at the time thought maybe this is going somewhere. But then at the end of the day, it was only really him.
Sure.
And then me for a bit, until I then thought, you know what, I've been on this roller coaster long enough now, it's time to get off.
Yeah. So
so there is no group.
Yeah.
Well, the thing was before we sort of drifted apart, as it were, obviously we've got a group chat with Chrysalina and stuff like that. And she introduced us to Natalie, who was in the picture of stood to Greg with the little kid, who's the one that
she did
on her.
She did a live in her house with Greg, right, in late May.
Yeah. So obviously she came in. She started posting stuff. Gareth caught hold of it, and he sent me a DM basically saying, "Oh, you need to stay away from her." I think it was in your last video you done actually. She's claiming around that I've been hired to assassinate you, and you know,
so was this
you're going around. This is what Gareth sent to Greg on the DM, and basically, like I say, he was saying, you know, he thinks I've been hired to assassinate you and everything, and she's going around pretending to be your wife or claiming. And he said to me that, yeah, you got to mind her because she accused Greg of rape or something like that and tried to get him put in prison. Now, I was like, no, I've literally just met her on the DMs that we were doing on a separate one, and at no point was that mentioned. So I got a bit annoyed that he was basically BS. Bigly. He was...
What I don't understand is why attack? Why was he attacking Natalie? Like, I mean, if you know, obviously this didn't happen, why would he make this stuff up? Like, what?
Basically, I think he seems to think he's the overall protector of everybody, including the king. I mean, I don't know if you're aware from previous. I mean, you was on the FBI's wanted list, according to him.
Yeah. So he gets intel from the FBI.
Yeah, bang on. You know, top people. You know, out of all the people, you know, don't worry about Boris. Go straight to Gareth, like, you know. He's the man to see if you want your intel. But yeah, you know, and I think he was either he's in on it and was worried and knew she was a threat, because obviously you've been involved in the messaging and the talking of the messages to Mahoney, etc., and you know what Natalie's been saying to him and things. So you're obviously privy to all of that. And obviously maybe he was like, she's a threat, can't have Mark knowing what's what, so I'm going to tell him this. But because it was all blatant lies, and also the way Greg replied, you know, for someone who's supposed to be so godlike and whatnot, it wasn't the sort of thing that you'd expect or should have come from him, where he said damaged goods, ignore her, whatever the bottom of the message was. You can't quite see it because there's the arrows over the top hiding it.
But yes, it did say damaged goods. But I mean, so this is where we're going to talk about something else I want to look into, you know, what you guys think. But this is kind of where we may have a difference in opinion, because you guys kind of know him as a sort of godly man. Natalie will say this, and that he
Yeah.
would never say something like that. Okay, but his family and friends say differently throughout his early life. All the interviews. I don't know if you've seen the interviews I've done with his family.
I haven't, as per se. I mean, I mean, to be honest, I'm fairly new to you. I've heard your name, but never really looked. But obviously, you know, being curious, I'll certainly look. I'll go back to your back catalogue.
Yeah,
certainly.
I mean, it's definitely worth looking into because, you know, it's not just his family saying this. And, you know, even in one of the videos, his, 85-year-old mother, bless her heart, is there talking about it. And, you know, Greg dismissed these videos by saying they're all heroin addicts and drug traffickers for the Queen, and that he works. They're being paid by the deep state, right? And I mean, this dear old lady, 85 years old. I mean, they even, they're completely coherent. They're very intelligent ladies. They are clear. I've worked with drug addicts, and I've known drug addicts, and these guys are not. They do not come across that they're on heroin, and they've got good careers. Lovely life. So I just could not believe how he said they're drug traffickers and heroin addicts. So so ignore them. And loads of people following him went, "Oh right, the drug addicts, yeah." And when you try and say, guys, have you watched this video? We don't need to. Greg told us it's coming from the deep state. They're drug addicts, and that just blew my mind. So
yeah.
Anyway. They also say about his past and some of the court cases that he's been through, harassment that he's done, and he's actually sent affidavits to court saying, yeah, but my sister Tam, she's a lesbian, and so these are like legal, accusations. She's a lesbian. A bull dyke, a fisherwoman bull dyke or something like that. In legal, just some of the stuff he says is just awful in these affidavits, but also they tell us about how he would, this is just word of mouth. So from them. Yeah. So you have to wonder, whether you, and I fully do believe them. So please watch them yourself and make your own minds up, guys.
Yeah.
Watching this. But, they will say then, that he would walk in the room and the first thing he would do was insult us. And they would think, why do we bother? And then they would still try and invite him to things. And he'd be like, no, I don't want, Anyway, so that character profile, and then I spoke to his friend from after high school, Rick Marshall, who said kind of similar things. They all say that he's fun to be around, clever guy, funny, should have been a comedian or a sci-fi writer, but they all say that he had this nasty streak. I speak to Tom Carhill, who lived with him, says the same. Everyone that I've spoken to that's been involved in his life say that he had a nasty side. And then I put out this video which basically highlighted him talking to Jack Kidd and Charlie Ward. And he says, I think it's 7 times. He says 7 times over that video. And my sisters are ugly. He says that 7 times. And he also says, and my sister, she was really slow. She was really slow. And he makes a disabled joke. He says, she was in the special class with people that walk like this.
I've seen that clip. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we have a kind of a different sort of outlook on what he's like. However, that video was shot after the end of May, early June. What happened at the end of May, early June, is he suddenly stopped talking to Natalie.
That's correct. Natalie.
And you guys, I mean, tell me, what do you think happened to Greg?
Well, I mean, I myself, even before this was all said, I mean, obviously I've only seen the pictures of him where he stood outside the front of that tree in his white suit and things, and obviously his face and things, you look at it and you think, well, yes, that's Greg, that must what he like. But when they started doing the videos, the Hidden King and stuff, the first time I watched one, I was actually there, I looked and I thought, that don't look like Greg, something different about him, his eyes and things, and that just didn't. I got the picture out of him from the Hidden King, where, like I say, it says Hidden King, King John, and it's got him in front of that big tree, the one that was struck by lightning, apparently, and left the face on the cut, as it were. Mm-hmm. But I just looked and I just thought, I don't look like him. Maybe it's the makeup. It could be they're using 4K cameras and all this modern tech. It's just highlighting flaws in him. But it was a bit weird, but I'm a pretty good observer of things, and it just didn't seem like him.
I must admit, I looked at the pictures. They, you know, obviously they do look different, but they look like on a good day and a bad day. And it's important.
Yeah, again, it's
important to highlight. They actually say at the beginning of the video that they were up until the early hours of the morning. I think they even say something like 5 a.m. in the morning, and they were back early for shooting, and they were drinking throughout the night.
Yeah, which is not going to make you look your best.
Yeah, I mean, you drink all night, you stay up to 5 a.m. in the morning, you get up in the morning to film. They slap some makeup on you. I mean, you know, it wouldn't be your best shot, would it?
No, absolutely.
No. But like I say, I did look at the photos, and in some of the photo comparisons, it did make me think, is there something to this? Especially when multiple people have told me. So I want to make it clear here to everyone watching. I'm not saying that this is truth and this is what I believe. I am saying this is it's worth investigating.
Yeah, it has to be, because I mean the thing that gets to me all this time as well, and going back to the Gareth thing is obviously you'll get to speak to Chrisalina at some point as well. She was the statesman, which was what Gareth set up as part of the Kingsman group.
So that's like the American
division, basically, again from the film Kingsman Statesman.
Yeah.
But me and Chrisalina were not pressuring Gareth, but saying, look, you know, if we're part of this fantastic team and we're looking after Greg, when do we get to video call with him? When do we get to speak to him? And, you know, why is he not sort of wanting to see who's going to be working with him? You know, you'd have thought that would be a given at some point in this sort of thing.
You
but
guys,
it was
you guys are a security team. You know, if I had a security team, I would want to know who's keeping me safe.
You at least want to see the faces and have a chat with them, and you know, even better, meet them in person.
Thank you for your service. I really appreciate it. That's enough.
Something.
That's just what you're doing. Otherwise, you're just working for this guy who's possibly nuts, right?
Exactly, and it's everything always had to go through Gareth. It's a bit like at the moment where everything that goes through Greg seems to have to go through Mahoney. It's like, why can't Greg himself? He doesn't need Digital Warrior Productions to come out to put a statement out. He's got internet. We know he has, because he does Zoom calls. He could get his own YouTube channel and do what you're doing right now. Just do a cast and do it himself from his own words. You know, if he's in this position of what he is and everything else, he needs to come out personally with a personal statement with nothing to do with anybody else and come out and say the story. Because let's face it, if you was in his shoes and you had this amazing chance to become, you know, king, you're not going to first of all hang around with a production crew that have got a slightly iffy background, to say the least, which is people and the thing is people dig up the information, and it makes you think, is this deliberate to discredit him anyway? Because if you were Greg and you found out the crew that you were filming with were not quite what you want to distance yourself from them, surely, because it's doing your reputation no good whatsoever.
That's a good point, actually. It's something I haven't thought about. You know, Greg's been really quiet. You know, David has been speaking for him, as it were.
It's almost a David Mahoney show now.
Yeah.
With a clip of Greg in it.
With Greg's blessing or not. And he said like literally like 5 days ago or longer, a week ago, whenever I brought out that video showing Charlie Ward revealing that they weren't telling the whole truth the whole time. You know, he was like, I'm going to get straight onto a Zoom call, maybe tonight or tomorrow with Greg, and nothing, right? So that's a very good point you make, because I haven't thought about that. Maybe Greg has distanced himself from David, like, this team are not doing me any favours. However, if he has done that, like you said, and like I said in one of my follow-up videos, where is Greg? Because his whole story is kind of falling down, or appears to be falling down around him. And if you've got this amazing chance to be king and whatnot,
exactly, you want the story to go in. You
say, look, this is where that guy M was wrong. This Charlie Ward was wrong about this, and this is why. Again, let me remind you, this is why I am the rightful king of England. But we've had nothing.
Exactly, and that's what makes it harder. I mean, even the most diehard of people on my accounts that I had, and even today, you know, on the Greg Hallett Facebook pages, people who are very cemented to it are now sort of almost like, oh, it's not going anywhere, this now, you know, what's the hold up? And they're starting to doubt. Even some of the diehard fans of him are now starting to think, you know, if you're the king, where are you? Why are you not in? Why are you not doing what you... I mean, you know, if he's going to do what he says he's going to do, if he does make the appearance and get on there and he does do good things, fair play to the guy.
I think that's a good point as well, because this is the whole situation it's kind of a kick in the teeth for all these people that have really supported him and avidly followed him, because
Yeah,
they're feeling probably right now, maybe embarrassed, not the right word, but a bit kind of like, well, how can we deflect this this kind of movement of people saying that he's lying? How can we kind of back you up if you're not going to give us more to sort of
exactly.
They're sitting there thinking, well, we've avidly backed you, we've argued, till our face is blue with these people who are trying to say that you're not genuine, Greg. Like, please give us some more. And only David has tried to give more, but instead he's made himself look like a right donut. And,
well, yeah, exactly, because his info generally doesn't follow suit anyway. There's always discrepancies from one person to the next.
And yeah, I just really feel for these people, because obviously I've said before, the reason I'm doing this is for those people, because I obviously honestly believe the whole thing is a deception. I don't necessarily believe that Greg Hallett is the main culprit here. For me, the way I see it.
Yeah, he's got back help somewhere.
Him are the people that are really kind of profiting, people that really want this show to continue, for documentaries to be made. And I think that they are probably a darker force in this. And so this is partly why we're connected. But David, is not really helping these guys. And like I said, I'm trying for their mental health sake and stop people being ripped off, trying to help these people. So I do feel for these people, and I hope.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I hope that they're going to be all right out of this, and that there's some sort of, so if it does end up being that Greg Hallett's disappeared now and nothing happens, I do hope that it doesn't hurt these people too much. And that's why I've been avidly trying to do this for months, because I was hoping, for me, I was convinced that I was speaking to his family, I got the whole picture, I was convinced that this is all, and then I went through his lineage, and there's so much there's no evidence for. There's a massive chunk in his documents, and it's just like, well, where's the evidence he existed? Where's it? Guys asked these questions and he never responded to it. So I was convinced, and I just thought the earlier these people can wise up to it, the less they're going to be affected. And it's now got so far out of hand that I really do feel that a lot of people are going to be affected by it.
I mean, that's the other thing as well is, I mean, like you're saying about new information to help back up his claims. I mean, we're kind of chapter 4 now, The Hidden King, I think, and there's other bits and pieces, but the info contained.
Episode 5 and episode 6 coming out, right? Episode 5 is called something like Portals.
Oh, the some Portals or something, with that.
And then episode 6 is about some Huna guy, and it's all kind of like about New Age, spiritual truth, love and light type stuff, right?
There doesn't seem much Greg in there, though.
Where's Greg gone? So the episode 4 in Portugal, and they had a snippet of a Zoom call where actually the screen on the computer was superimposed on, and it didn't look like a real Zoom call, like it was actually happening real time. So it was all kind of put together Hollywood style, and that was it in that video. And he just went on talking about, kind of blasphemy.
No, it was the Mahoney show, basically, was what it ended up being. It was almost as though they've got Greg because people are interested to get the popularity. All of a sudden, we're now aware of Digital Warrior Productions, which were unheard of before this. And now they've got their bit of fame. They're now living off of Greg's name, or not doing Greg any favours in the process, which makes it even harder. And the info, there's never any new info in these things. Like I say, I've got my beliefs in Greg, you've got yours. It's not the main discussion, but it's the fact is that for me as well, as somebody who does hopefully support the right cause, which I hope I'm right, I might be wrong. No one's always right.
I might be wrong.
The info,
I'm first
exactly. We need to know. We need to find out and let nature take its course. But in the meantime, all the info in these videos is repetitive. It's the same stuff. There's no new stuff. Like, ask the question, like people wanted to ask Trump, are you Q? We want to ask Greg, when are you going to be looking at the date of actually being in public, going through the gates of Buckingham Palace? There's no mention of any of that in any of the videos. And
this is also hard for people because he does say, he says on episode 1 of the documentary, well, what's going to happen is I'm going to stroll through the gates. They're going to put me on the throne. They're going to give me the scepter and the crown, and we're going to take some photos,
send it around the world,
and then we'll have a party afterwards. And then before that, in an interview, he had said, well, he basically says, Buckingham Palace is already mine. Oh, they're just redecorating for me. And then he says, they're just redecorating for me, just waiting for the paint to dry and for the smell to go. And people really took that literally, and the fact that the unicorn got knocked off with the gates, and there's a
yeah, there's all sorts of things with that though, isn't there? They say a lorry knocked it off, but then lorries don't go through that gate. But that story has got so many angles. It could be, yeah.
Forget that. Let's talk about the fact that he had people thinking that next week he's going to go into Buckingham Palace, and we're talking months ago now. So this is again is another thing. If you're not sure, like say I'm talking in the frame of this as if this is real, and he is going to get there. If you're not sure the date that you're going to get into Buckingham Palace, don't tell everyone that you're just waiting for the paint to dry. So they go around saying you're going to look like an idiot next week when he's in Buckingham Palace, because that doesn't do your supporters.
No. Exactly, and this is weeks, months onwards. I mean, I thought it would be fairly soon after the July 31st contesting date, whether it was the final midnight of July 31st. If no one contests it, he's in. But I mean, that was July.
And the thing is it really made it out in that documentary. It's the same situation, isn't it? It's like when the Queen doesn't contest by this date, that's it. It's going to be on BBC News. Greg's moving into the Palace, and obviously everyone then was like, "Well, you wait until after that date." And that's not going to do. If you're not sure, don't say that. But now it's changed, and those documents didn't matter. So that's what David Bowie is saying now. Like, oh, that whole thing, forget about that, because now the Queen has done this EU Bill of Rights. And, whatnot. So the whole that whole thing with documents now. Oh, well, that's that. But I said back then, I was like, well, something's going to happen, or they're going to extend the date, or it's not going to matter later on. And lo and behold, oh, that doesn't matter anymore, because now it's this. And so the bloodline, there's so many holes in it, he hasn't answered it. He's like, well, the bloodline doesn't matter anymore. It's all about the fact that he's fulfilling biblical prophecy. So
it's the prophecy side, wasn't it? Yeah.
So, it's just, even if I try to get into the mind of someone who really believes this is true. When I do that, the critical thing just creeps up so quickly, and I think, but what about this point? What about this point? And I actually do think of it as a supporter, and I kind of get a bit angry, like, Greg, throw us a bone here,
Yeah, something, because there's been nothing new recently.
Just give us just something to go, because the only thing that I'm getting in my video comments at the moment is, the only thing they're saying is, well, just wait, you'll be sorry. Nothing can stop what's going to happen. And I think that's all all the supporters kind of can say now, because they're not.
And as myself as being one, I mean, again, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If you're wrong, you're wrong. I mean, I'm an easy go person. I'm not around on my soapbox saying you've got to believe in Greg. It's my choice to believe in him, and if it happens, it happens.
And I respect
but
that.
I'm not going to be upset if he's not, or something happens. I'm not going to be, I can't believe he didn't. It's the end of the. We know other things in the world are going on to protect us. There's other things that are happening. If it does turn out that, in my view, I hope so, because I mean, let's face it, it's what we've had running the country, and sort of royalty over the decades and stuff. Can he do any worse if he did get in? He can't, surely. But then it depends on who his backers are, because he's still not come out and said,
people, can he do any worse? You don't know that. Yes, it's like, so this is the thing that kind of really, one of the things that got to me, a lot of Greg supporters, is when you give a lot of information, they'd say, yeah, but look who's on the throne now. I'd much rather Greg, so that they're going to back him. And I would always say, well, you could put a monkey on the throne. In your in your narrative, you could put a monkey on the throne, and you think that's better. So should we put a monkey on the throne? Well, would I be better on the throne? Do you want me to be your king? I mean, that's not.
Gareth wanted to be king.
And someone said to me the other day, it's like, you should run for king. I was like, well, how much would Greg hate that if everyone started backing me? All his followers went, well, Em looked at his ancestry and he's related to such and such. That would cause a stir. But they said, oh yeah, they've mentioned you on sweets packets, M&Ms, and So I'm sure they've mentioned M's in films, you know.
Oh yeah, well, James Bond, you know, all
Yeah,
sorts. You could be a, you could set up your own secret service.
that's a very good point. Now you're saying
You
that,
could,
yeah,
you
the
could write
signs are saying
Gareth.
I'm a Secret Service agent. Oh dear,
Absolutely.
maybe we shouldn't mention that. I'll get out my expired Secret Service card in a minute. Anyway, moving on. So let's talk about. So you said about what happened with Gareth and the Kingsman. You said about what. Then you got to the point where you thought something's fishy about this guy. You don't quite think that he is actually an official, you know, security thing for Greg, and he's not actually in contact. And then you started getting. You started thinking. You and others started thinking, well, things are strange. Like you said, you looked at the pictures, comparisons, didn't look like the same Greg. So why don't you talk about now what you think might have happened to Greg, and also what you think about those that have been around him since the beginning of these documentaries? I'm talking David Mahoney, Jack Kidd, and well, Lee Dawson, and Charlie Ward.
The rest of it.
I mean, Lee maybe not has not been so involved. I mean, he's been in documentaries and things like that. But David Mahoney, his big one, he's like his right hand man, right? Charlie Ward has been like one of his biggest promoters, and there's a lot of controversy around him at the moment. And Jack Kidd, I mean, such a questionable, you know, links to Ghislaine Maxwell, Jacob Rothschild.
Well, it was his daughter won it or something. The makeup company that his daughter or someone had, and had to bail out from.
You've got Ghislaine Maxwell, you've got Jacob Rothschild on there, and then you've got his grandfather being Lord Beaverbrook, who was like the head of multiple mainstream newspapers in the past, and he was like he was under some role for Winston Churchill, minister of propaganda for Churchill during World War II. So like all of this is just like, and apparently he's met Prince Charles. It's all like deep state.
It stinks of it. It stinks of deep state. It really does. I mean, my thinking of it all is, you know, Greg's done what he's done. He's done his 40 years of digging, you know, done the prophecy stuff. He's obviously skint, basically. At the end of the day, he's not mega rich. Otherwise, he wouldn't be doing, you know, GoFundMe things to do basic paperwork. But I think he's obviously been approached by this group to say, look, out of our hearts, we're going to do some documentaries for you. You know, we're going to pay for it all, fund it, because we're interested in your story. We think that people should hear about it. Now, yes, that's good. But in this day and age, especially with production costs, I mean, we're talking drone crews, you know, the flights and things, going out and doing all the bits and pieces. You need a return of something to do that out of your kindness of your heart. I don't know many people, let alone rich people, who would do me that type of thing for free.
Absolutely.
You know, there's a clause in all of these things, you know.
Yeah. I mean, giving a little bit of money and a little bit of your time, fair enough. But you know, the amount that
to do and continued videoing and the editing. I mean, let's face it. I mean, they're not exactly done on wonky cameras, and you know, they're fairly professional looking. These things. There's a bit of time put into them. Let's be fair on that. You know, they are. They may be full of rubbish to people, but
sit on camera, David Mahoney, you know, and crew, their production value, especially in the Portugal episode, you know, fantastic. The editing,
exactly.
That whole thing, you know, is worthy of putting on TV or film. You know, great, fantastic. But that's in the arena of fiction. You know, great in the arena for me. Great in the arena of a story. But when you are selling this as truth, that's something that I have a real problem with. I'm out to expose. And so, great video work, but content-wise, where's your evidence and proof for any of this about the Bible? And where's your evidence? And that bottle, you know, it's just so fishy, the whole thing.
Well, the thing about that as well is when Mahoney done the follow-up call in his car, wasn't it? And said they had to go back and reshoot the drone footage and some footage because it got corrupted. Why did so much of it get corrupted? And was it to refilm stuff for a reason? Or, you know, I mean, that's one of the alarm bells that got my head ringing.
Yeah,
Why go back and re-video it? What were they not happy about? What was in there that shouldn't have been, or what wasn't in
yeah.
there
So
that
what they
should have
removed?
been, or
Actually,
what
that's
have they
very
added,
good.
or you know?
I thought they were just buying time, but you know that is a very good thinking point. Was there something in there they wanted to, reshoot?
Yeah.
Is there,
I mean, it
yeah,
was only 22 minutes of footage or so, wasn't it? 22, 24 minutes for the episode. They're not no more than a half hour, are they, if I'm not mistaken?
they fit a lot in it. There was no more than half an hour, but
Yeah,
it felt
but
like.
the content really wasn't much to do about Greg, apart from there's his cave and there's the bottle. The note's now outside, not inside.
Mm.
But the rest of it was, like I said before, it was a Dave Mahoney show. Look at
It's
me,
the
I'm
same
walking around
Mahoney
these
show.
lovely
At the end, it
places.
says researcher Joseph Gregory Hallett, but there's no research in it. It's just a story that David said. I don't even know if this has come from Greg. I don't even know if
This
this.
is the thing, because it seems to be that these guys are almost his handler. Like, they've now got him. I mean, are they blackmailing him even? This is the other thing you've got to consider. You've got to think, like, if he is, and in my head, again, we've divulged on that a little bit. I think he is, you're not, but that's our opinions, and we respect each other for that. We mentioned that before
Absolutely.
we got
Major
talking.
respect for you as well for coming on my channel to talk. Major respect to you. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
no, thank you very much for having me on. But is he being blackmailed? Have they now got him by the balls, as it were, and are saying, look, we're using your fame because we know what power you could have if you got in that seat. And then you've also got to look at, like, well, if he's going to have that amount of power, which is supposed to be coming to him, I mean, as we know from reading, the Queen lost sovereignty years ago, gave it to the government. The government owned the sovereignty. Now, if our government leave the EU, we take sovereignty with us, and the EU doesn't have access to that all of a sudden. And this is why I think as well Brexit's been dragged out, because Greg gets the sovereignty back, or we leave EU as well. Brussels doesn't get any of this, and all you've got to do is look at the lines of following, and you can see why they want the sovereignty, because Britain used to rule the waves back in the day. So we were told at school in history, it's a lot at stake having a sovereignty.
Absolutely.
So it's a powerful thing to have. So if you've got these guys that have been introduced via deep state or nefarious ways, and they've got control of Greg, either he went missing, which Natalie's going to talk about next on bits and pieces on that. You then have to look at the question and think, well, they're pulling the strings. There is talkers. Everything goes through them. Why does Greg not do direct stuff without without Mahoney being there all the time? Never heard
Yeah.
Greg talk on his own.
Oh, and I've heard Greg
Again,
say as
more
well.
curious things that just don't add up.
I've heard Greg say as well, I was going to talk to this channel, but I was told by, I think he actually said Ward, Charlie Ward.
Doctor, I don't know in what, but Doctor Charlie Ward.
Well, he ticked the wrong box, so he'd get free parking. So he was committing fraud even as a youngster.
Absolutely.
Anyway, this, I think he did say at one point he asked his guys, which I either assume, I don't know if my memory serves me correctly, I either assume or I think he might have mentioned he talked to Mahoney and Ward, and they'd said, not to do anything outside of them. So you've got to wonder whether they're really tightly controlling this, and I wonder whether they're scared to put Greg on camera, because when I put out some of my early videos, especially the Lineage Lies one, where I literally pull apart his lineage story, his documents, he started then calling me. Actually, it was the video of him with Charlie Ward and Jack Kidd, where he is just vile, basically, towards his family. He then started saying M Seeker of Truth is a deep state agent. He works for Cambridge Analytica, or otherwise known as Emma Data Limited. Blah de blah, blah de blah. Basically, he started, and then some New Zealanders started talking to him, and he basically denounced all of New Zealand, and his New Zealand followers were like, hey, "What? Please take that back." It basically just said, fuck New Zealand, basically.
And again, not sort of thing you expect to come from someone who's in that sort of power.
So basically, and then suddenly, and then he was on my channel and he was saying, please provide your name and address for legal proceedings, blah, blah, blah. And so suddenly he went quiet. And it was almost as if they'd got in his ear and said, you're making yourself look bad. like, just stop now. We'll talk for you. If Mahoney said that, then he was on his high horse, because he's not done himself any favours, as I've clearly pointed out.
No, that's it.
Yeah, you do have to wonder whether they've gagged Greg, and that could have just been a normal human response to being backed in a corner, as it were. And maybe the same is for Mahoney. I mean, okay, we're all human.
I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing with it. You see, if you've got someone by the balls, you get them to say things that they wouldn't normally say to try and get out of a situation. All you've got to do is look.
It's on the internet. You can't take it back.
Exactly. That's it. I mean, all you got to do is look at the General Flynn case. What they've done to him, they made him say things so they can get him put away for years because of Barack Obama and what he knew with the deep state. But he literally lied, but didn't, because he was forced to lie. Absolutely. So again, when you look at that angle, you know, are they getting Greg to make himself look like a complete tit because they don't want him on the throne? So with the aid of Mahoney and everybody else, and like you say, maybe a gagging order on him, taking over basically what he says as a puppet. Let's say there's so many variables that shouldn't be there if what's supposed to happen is supposed to happen. You know, that's why on either side of the fence of the argument, there's so much bickering about it all, because there is no clear path, and the wrong ones have got no real sort of foothold, the right ones don't, because the info out there is so sketchy, to say the least, from the various parties involved, that anything's possible, which makes all these theories plausible from your side, from my side even.
Yeah.
You know, and until, like I say, Greg comes out himself without Mahoney in the background or anybody else, he's on his own, on his laptop, on YouTube, and puts out a video and says, right, people, this is me. I want to make things clear about Digital Warrior Productions and my ties with them, what we have actually been doing. You know, my background, everything else. There needs to be some clarity on that for me and for yourselves as well. Because it might be that you're still right, but not to the extent, and I'm still right, but not to the extent.
Yeah. See, I'm not going to write that there could be, you know, what something his sister said once was, with Greg, there's always a partial truth in it. So they said, whenever he goes off and he talks about things, there usually is something there that's the truth, but he embellishes. And we talked about this, how, you know, that maybe he's a bit similar to Gareth in a way.
That type of problem.
But they said whenever he says something, there's always a partial truth. So it makes me think, with this whole thing, you know, I have debunked this. I've talked to all these people that knew him. I've got this character profile, fair enough, but I am never going to stop investigating what's on the other side, because for me, as much as I will say that this is a deception, and I truly believe that it is, and especially with
and I appreciate your opinion on that. You know,
there's a lot of deception going on, but I'm never going to stop investigating, and that's exactly how we should all be. But
you need both sides of it to understand.
And a lot of people are saying, well, the thing that Greg has done is he's exposed the illegitimacy of the royals.
That's the biggest thing that's happened. Definitely.
So I would argue that if that's the case, if, you know, that's what we're going with, that other people have said this before him. But maybe he has brought it to a wider audience. Okay. However, if this was a whole sort of psyop to get information out from a source that people would listen to, it's still, I mean, you could have got that information out without
there were other means and routes.
Mental health and hopes in a time of confusion and fear. And that, for me, even if it's brought some good with it, is a big problem for me. That's not how things should run. We should be.
No, I agree on that. I agree on that. Yeah, and that's why, even though I, like I say, I still am, you know, the supporter of the Greg thing. In my head, as someone, you know, like that, I believe it's been gone about the wrong way. You know, somebody with this importance, this title that they hold, and everything else, the route that it's been gone down is completely wrong. It's muddied it. It's made it awkward. I mean, effectively hanging around with the people that he's done, like Mahoney and all the others. I mean, you know a bit of background on them. he's tainted his reputation before he's even sat on the throne. It's gonna if he does get in and do what he's got to do, his first job is to win people over, which is what he should be doing now before he takes the throne. And being with them people, it doesn't help hanging around with known criminals with nefarious activities, and you'd want to distance yourself from them, surely.
I would suggest that if he does somehow make it to the throne, that's his first job, is that he gets a new team around him. But
absolutely, and not Gareth or Mahoney or any of the others, because, like I say,
I wouldn't necessarily call Gareth his team, but
no, that's fair enough.
No, so we talked about Mahoney, we talked about Jack Kidd briefly. I don't think there's much because he's in the background.
He's just there, isn't he? Basically, we know his connections.
I mean, I think there is more to that, but I mean, it's not.
I need to research more on all of them, to be honest.
If you've got more to say about Jack Kidd, please do.
At the minute, I haven't. He's in process. He's work in progress at the minute.
I mean, Lee Dawson for me, he's a part of it, but really,
Well, it says he runs Charlie Ward's account most of the time on Twitter. It says Lee Ward generally runs Charlie's account more often than not. I think it's in the description on his Twitter account. So, is it?
We might be talking to Lee Dawson if we think we're talking to Charlie.
Lee Dawson more often than not, I would have thought. So I'm sure it's in the bio on his Twitter account. It says Charlie's busy, or Lee Dawson usually runs this account. So yeah, more often than not, you're more than likely getting hold of Lee.
So let's talk about Charlie Ward. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I don't, because he's not been in the videos as much. I don't follow his channel, and I don't really. I don't know. I just look at the guy and I don't get a good vibe off him. I mean, I'm aware of stuff that's happened from what I've been shown about his boy died in an accident in a Lamborghini near the golf resort, went off a cliff.
Yeah.
And it mentioned him as a oil tycoon.
And the oil tycoon thing as well, as he said recently, he's been saying, no, I don't know where they got that from, And
so why did he not do him for slander then? Isn't the paper, he could sue him for wrongful information, surely.
He says, it's because of the grief that it caused. But then in a recent interview, he said, oh, I don't know where they got that from. And then later on, it's mentioned again, and he goes, well, let me tell you, obviously I was in Dubai, and, I did fix oil deals. Right, so I did. I knew this person. They wanted to make a deal, so I fixed an oil deal. I mean,
so it went from no to well. Actually, I did have a little. And again, this is
later saying same as saying you're a doctor for months and months and months, and then after people going, "What are you a doctor in? What's your PhD? What's the blah blah?" Right. Okay. Let me come clean. What happened was I committed fraud as a kid. Right, doctor fraud, and then so he says,
"How long he did that?"
If you look at his LinkedIn account, search Charlie Ward, look at his LinkedIn account. It says he's been in the oil and gas business for so many years. So
it's just more deception, and it's all on the side with Greg, which makes the whole story seem as bad as it looks. That's the problem, you see. That is the problem.
So anyway, that's Charlie Ward. So let's just quickly say, obviously, you think that something happened maybe to Greg. Early June, maybe late May. These guys have got involved with him. You said they all seem kind of like dark, and maybe connected to deep state. And I agree. I think there's something very dark about them all. So I've asked a few times, what do you think happened to Greg? I'll ask you outright. Do you think it's possible that he was replaced? And I'm not saying that I believe this.
No. But at the end of the day, this is info for people to decide on. I mean, if people want to rubbish me in the comments and hammer me, fine. I'm not going to read them anyway. Afterwards, I don't care. I'm not that sort of person. I've got more important things in the real world. But this is stuff that people need to talk about, like we are, sensibly. We're not raising voices. We're not saying, well, you're wrong, I'm right. And I appreciate you for doing this as well. It's been very balanced.
Thank you.
But I personally think if with the information that came from Natalie, being that close to somebody and all of a sudden going into the woods or whatever and then just not returning calls, and we're aware of the indictments and people getting cloned out and swapped to fill the gaps until it's all brought to attention. There's technology. You've got Clonaid in North Canada that blatantly Clonaid.com says we do clones. You see information of how they can swap minds over and that sort of thing. Like I say, Greg Hallett, he's a nobody, but if just think about it for the minute, if he did hold that title, the power that he would have, he's the person that the deep state would want to control at the top of the list, and they would go out of their way to control him, get a crew in that would guide him, like his handlers, the Digital Warrior Productions, basically take over his story, delay him getting in. Oh, we'll do another video. We'll do number 6. We'll do number 7. All these types of things, making him, or even going into his account and putting these tweets out insulting New Zealanders and stuff like that. If he's not aware of it, because as you said earlier on, and as I said myself, a lot of busy people have people looking after their Twitter accounts. So unless we were there and see him typed it into his phone and send it, it could have been anybody. But it's, again, to rubbish him and drag this narrative out and stop him getting the ultimate power. Then they're hoping he'll go away. It'll be embarrassing enough, and they can then set out their agenda on what they're going to do with sovereignty, or, are we going to be sold out to Brussels, or are they going to get somebody else in, or is another person going to appear who says, I'm the king, look at my lineage. And then we do the same process again, turns out to be fake. Meanwhile, the deep state are pissing themselves with laughter because they're thinking it's hysterical, because they've got all these false prophets almost coming in. The possibilities are endless. That's the problem.
It's all a smokescreen. So there's a buzzword, isn't there, at the moment? It's been a smokescreen. It's a smokescreen. Bizarra, it's a smokescreen. This, that, and the other, it's a smokescreen. Who knows, right?
Exactly.
It's important to be careful how much stock you put in people that are telling you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the overall message I want to get across is, I'm not telling you to not investigate yourself. I'm telling you to absolutely investigate yourself. I'm actually telling you to ask Greg Hallett. I'm telling you to ask David Mahoney. I'm telling you to ask these people questions. Charlie Ward, ask them questions. Don't stop listening to them. Well, actually, let me rephrase that.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
You probably should stop listening to these people once you've got enough evidence. And please look at my channel for evidence that there is deception afoot. Okay. If you are ignoring my videos, if you are ignoring my evidence, and you are just listening to David Mahoney or Charlie Ward or Greg Hallett, please do yourself a favour, if you've managed to get through this video, and go back and look at both sides of the story. And that's, at the end of the day, all I'm asking you. I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm not asking you to believe Mark. I'm asking you to look at all the evidence. So, Mark, I think we've tied it up. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me on. I mean, like I say, it's the only way we get balanced information. We've not had a go at each other. You're not a supporter, I am, but I appreciate your views, obviously, because of what you know. And obviously, to get impartiality, you have to be on both sides of the fence. Otherwise, you become the people that we're trying not to be.
Absolutely. That's a great point. And, I really do commend you, because no one before would come on my channel to talk about it from a point and realise that I would be respectful of your beliefs, right? I was looked at as a troll, deep state, don't go near him, actual hate towards me. And I
shouldn't hate anybody. You shouldn't hate anybody. I don't hate you for your opinions. You don't hate me for mine, and that's the way.
I definitely don't hate you for yours, and I don't. And from you, from Chrisalina, from Natalie, I don't feel like I've had hate. I feel like you guys have listened to me and have agreed with some things, and have thought, you know what, let's get this out so other people can see this conversation. Let's not just have it behind the scenes. Let's talk about it in the open. And so that I really
absolutely. And we had good banter on the DMs, by the way. We had some good lols, didn't we? Let's face it. It was good fun.
Around the Kingsman, it makes it the whole thing. I don't want to go into it too much, but we basically just, I got a lot of that information I shared in my last video, at least half of it from those DMs. And my God, when you were sending me pictures of him ripping off his shirt as Superman. So thank you for that, because you've given a lot.
No, I'm glad I made your evening. That was I did hear you were in the messaging. It was quite a glorious evening, actually.
Yes, no, it was great, and I do hope we can stay in touch. And
listen, anything you want to talk about, just give us a shout. You know me. You've had a chat with me now. You've worked me out. I am what I am. You get what you get, and absolutely. I will be a sensible debater. You know, it's simple as that. I'm not going to get on my high horse. I'll listen, and I expect the same. And you've done it, and I respect that. Thank you.
How about this for people as well? You know, Greg believers, Greg non-believers. Let's talk. Yeah,
we're getting on. We're talking about it.
Let's not shoot down each other for believing one way or the other. Let's talk openly and honestly. Let's present evidence to each other, and let's respect each other's beliefs. And at the end of the day, me and Mark have proved it. We can,
You can do it. Anybody can do it. With any topic as well. With any topic, that's the thing.
And you're not the one that is, you're not the one. From my side, my thought that you're not the one that's obviously playing himself king. You're not the one that's making documentaries, pushing this. You're not the one asking for money. You are just simply saying, I believe this. And, you've had before in the past where you've said, guys, look at this guy. This guy could be king, and I believe he's king, which is fine. Everyone's entitled to that. And really, this is, funnily enough, there's thousands of support. I've spoken to hundreds, if not in the thousands now, of people that support Greg, because I've really tried to reach out. And there's not many before you that have actually treated me like a human being. Because
you are at the end of the day. We all are. That's what people are not getting, and this is the division.
And I hope that's the main message that people get from this video.
Yeah, listen out, people. Be nice to each other. Talk nicely about things. Don't set your streets on fire and smash your shop windows in because you don't agree with somebody else.
Not getting into BLM, mate.
That's another day.
I appreciate it. It's been a laugh. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate having you on. And again, stay in touch, dude.
Yeah, we'll keep in contact, and maybe even another video coming from us. Guys, check out the links at the bottom of my channel. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Big up to my man, Mark Belden, for talking to me. And
thank you very much.
Soon follow M Seeker of Truth.